investigating Acorn, and Anita Moncrief is a former Acorn worker who, along with others, has embarked on an effort to try and reform the organization. Welcome to you both. Mr. Miller, let's first start with you. About your case, Acorn denies the charges, says it did nothing wrong. They claim it's a political stunt, quote, frighteningly absurd, and will fight in court. What's your response to Acorn's view of what you found?
Well, this had absolutely nothing to do with politics. This wasn't a partisan investigation. I'm a Democrat. It's had everything to do with preserving the integrity of the system. I promised as a former criminal prosecutor when I ran for this office that we would crack down on election offenses and send a very strong message that we won't tolerate this type of activity. And so the investigation went forward, and it was a very thorough investigation. We're confident that we've got a very strong case against Acorn.
Well, some of the allegations that surfaced in Nevada dealing with, registering Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboy starting lineup and this sort of thing. What did you find and how bad was it?
The Attorney General's office filed 39 felony counts against Acorn, their regional director, and their field director. The most important message is that we have integrity in the system. This was a case of voter registration fraud, not voter fraud, but we ultimately charged them with compensation for registration of voters based on the total number of voters registered, which is a Category E felony in the state of Nevada, and that has felony treatment because it encourages fraudulent activity. Anytime that you're going to go out and pay your workers and incentivize them to go out and register workers based on the total number of forms, they have an incentive to turn in bogus forms, which is what happened here.
Yeah, they've denied a quota system, but they say, you got to pay the workers, got to come back with signing up new people. But also what's disturbing is in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is, about a half of those signed up didn't vote. What are those figures that you're seeing in your office?
Well, the figures were a bit disturbing. They turned in about 90,000 forms. We were unable to verify the ID of about half of those people. If you
say that again. Say that again. They turned in 90,000 forms, and you can't find half of those people?
We run checks. We verify somebody's driver's license number, their social security number, their physical address. We were unable to confirm the identity of about half of the forms that they turned in. If you take Acorn out of the mix, by comparison, that number is usually about 2% of the people that were unable to verify the identity of somebody. So this was fairly widespread in its effect on the system. It was a tremendous burden on our system, and clearly they did not have any safeguards in place to be able to prevent that type of fraudulent activity.
Well, those numbers are pretty astounding. Ross Miller, the Secretary of State of Nevada, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Anita Moncrief, you've got a blog. You've been dealing with Acorn. You testified on Capitol Hill about this. What do you hope happens in terms of trying to clean the system up?
Well, I would like for Acorn to be exposed that it is a criminal activity. What's going on right now is a criminal enterprise. They understood that the cards were duplicates and in some cases fraudulent. What they were trying to do is basically defraud the funders. They were paid to register 1.3 million voters. The New York Times reported that they only registered really 450,000 voters. The rest of those cards were either duplicates or outright fraud. So what Acorn is doing right now is not only taking money from the government, but they're taking money from foundations, and they're coming out into these communities and they're pretending to register voters, but what they're doing is smoke and mirrors. They're creating chaos at the election offices, and they're doing that on purpose in order to say we're being attacked, but we're really helping the people.
Well, they wouldn't say that. They would not say they're criminal activity, that they actually blame their workers. They say it's not a sanctioned policy, that these people are guilty of wrongdoing. When they find out about it, they fire them, and in fact, they've brought some of these cases to the prosecutors themselves. But you hit a point on something. I've talked with election officials in Missouri. All you have to do is go to Jefferson County. They're mad. They had phony registrations there. They turned all this stuff over to the FBI, and nothing has been done. You had about a dozen or so or more investigations last year. What do you fear may not happen? Congressional hearings on Capitol Hill apparently are not going forward.
Acorn has been operating as an unofficial arm of the Democratic Party for years. So at this point, I am not surprised that the congressional hearings are not going forward. Acorn had the Obama list, the Kerry list, the Clinton list, and they were using these donor lists in order to raise more money for their voter registration activities, which are basically not voter registration, but Acorn's political activities in battleground states. So I'm not surprised that these investigations have been killed.
Well,
it seems to be a pattern.
But Project Vote says that isn't the case, you know, we've talked to officials who say no law was broken there, if indeed that was happening at all. I mean, bottom line, do you feel that enough has been done to expose Acorn and some of these practices, or has there been too much?
There hasn't been enough done at this point. It seems that people are sweeping this under the rug, especially some very top Democrats. For Conyers to call 3 times for an investigation of Acorn and then to back down on the same day that Nevada brings charges is very suspect, because he said there was not enough evidence. But it appears that the states are moving forward to take the place of what the national level is not doing at this point.
All right, we're talking about John Conyers, the veteran congressman who last month called the charges and the allegations about Acorn a serious matter. That's a quote, saying that there should be hearings, and then he backed away from that. We, by the way, in fairness, have called his office a couple of times and have not gotten a response dealing with that. Nita Moncrief, we're out of time. Thank you, though, for joining us in our continuing stories and coverage of the situation with Acorn. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Jamie?
Computer hackers are already stealing all kinds of information. You've heard of identity theft. They can get your bank accounts or your credit cards. Well, you need to know about this, because they're branching out to new targets, and it could put you at risk. You will not believe what hackers are taking now.
And it was the flight over New York City that scared thousands of people and embarrassed the White House. So how much did the media, the national media, actually cover the story? Wait till you hear what Liz Trotta has to say.
What's worse than a dirty toilet? A dirty clip-on. Try Scrubbing Bubbles Toilet Cleaning Gel. Stamp it in, and for a whole week it cleans and freshens. Toilet Cleaning Gel, the freshest way.